Hello, everyone. It's another stream for Write Once, Read Many. This time, chapter 20.x. I have Vic here, and as you can see, there's a nice newspaper background to this episode.
Yeah. I didn't share the speed draw, not because it was boring, but because witnessing me do graphic design is painful. like I watched it back and I was like, oh, like I hate graphic design. I finished it and I turned it around to show to Kason, and I was like, does this look like a newspaper article? And he was like, yeah, it looks good. And then he was like, did you do it in Word? And I was like, no. And he's like, why didn't you just do it in Word? And I was like, you shut your mouth. Yeah.
Yeah, it probably took a lot longer.
No. Can you imagine having to go in and mess with the word settings and be like, I want fucking 1 column and then 2 columns and then 3 columns? No.
I will say, like, back in the day, I did a lot of word bullshit, you know, in the school era. So
back in that school era. See, listen, I was a more of a Google Docs era kind of person. And there's no way I would have been able to pull this off in Google Docs.
Pre-Google Docs era, for sure. I don't think that... Yeah, I was more of...
Back in my day.
Well, I was using, like, the off-brand Office that they have in, like, Linux systems, because I had, like, a Linux computer for some reason.
Oh, my goodness. Hi, Bill. Hi, Greg.
Heyo. You know what? Since you're here, the audience participation reminder is, do you think you apply Guanxi in your life? And definitely OpenOffice. I remember there was always like...
I did.
You had to be careful to make sure you saved stuff in the right file type, because it was like there were several very similarly named file types or something. I don't know. I remember it being important at the time. But anyway, themes. Oh, you had stated aloud when we were talking.
I said themes. I want to talk about. You want to talk about Guanxi?
Of course.
Is that how you say it? Did you look it up?
I should have, but I didn't, because I'm the worst. And you know what? I'm sure Greg is better at pronouncing Chinese stuff than I am, based on his knowledge in our Avatar thing.
Historical.
Yeah, based on the precedent of him knowing better than me when we play Avatar stuff.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk about that as a concept.
What's your thing, though?
Mine is the ethics of journalism and like specifically like in-field journalism. I mean, I know it doesn't get too crazy, but there's like a lot of implications. They're like, oh, don't forget this employee is close to the action. People have died before recently, within the last several months, during Cape conflicts. And this man is making $11 an hour. So that's mostly all I had.
Ethics of field journalism. Oh my god. Can't even get the I's and the E's in the right order.
It's I before E, except I've seen.
Let's give these all some capitalizations.
Except in a bunch of other things.
Yeah, according to Taylor, and I don't agree with her, there are more exceptions than correct uses of...
Yeah, there's definitely not more exceptions.
There's just a lot.
There's plenty of exceptions.
But I think that statement, if you're looking closely with your eyeballs, will give you a good read into Taylor's mindset.
Vale said, and when sounding like nay, as in neighbor and way. Okay, that's helpful to add to the rule. So it's I before E, except after C, except nay.
Neighbor and Weber, I see.
Niebuhr and Weber. Taylor Weber.
Weebert. I'm still. I was okay. So I was half convinced that it was supposed to be like a bear, like the French whatever. But then
Yeah.
like 3 times in the book, somebody pronounces it in a way that would only make sense if they're making the mistake from Hebert.
Yeah, it's definitely that.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty common with last names, though, like that they just kind of assimilate to whatever culture that they're in. Like, I can't imagine going up to somebody and then like being like, actually, actually, it's Iber.
My dog came in the room to look out the window, but the curtain is fully down and there's like literally no space, but she's still standing there like she's
Oh,
looking out the window. I think I'm just gonna lift
that's
it
so
a little bit so
sad.
she can
You
look.
should lift it so she can look. Phil said, I before E, except after C, or when sounded like A's, as in neighbor and way. Neither, oh my God, neither financier seized either species of weird leisure. Oh, I don't know these words, Vale. I can't do this. Something to their sovereign or forfeit life and seize their wear. It's pronounced bouquet, says Greg. Sorry, bouquet.
Well, it's pronounced bouquet because the wife of
Pronounced.
someone whose last name was Bucket
Mm-hmm.
was trying to be like high class within a sitcom. And
Oh.
then there are several times later where she like loses her temper with her husband and she's like says whatever his first name is, then Bucket. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you want to know how I know about this? Not only did I watch the
Okay.
show as a kid and forget about it, but also Quentin Reviews reminded me of it because Sam Puckett's name is
Oh.
supposed to be like there's a joke about
Yeah.
that. They go,
Bouquet.
okay. Yeah.
All right, should we
Anyway,
get into it?
we should get into it. I should stop talking about Quentin Reviews.
We could just do a whole Quentin reviews episode.
We could review
We
him.
love we hashtag Stan. Speaking of Stan, Stan is a field reporter, and we stan him. He is setting off towards the school with his lackeys, Nipper and Marshall. I don't like one of those. They park at the bottom of the hill to avoid being seen. So they like are carrying all of their equipment uphill. Really, really convenient. Definitely helped the situation at all. And it's a little startling to see, like, they see that there's uniformed guards around the perimeter of Arcadia High. So he has Nipper get a shot of them with the camera.
I know it
And
was.
Principal Howell,
I was
go
gonna
ahead.
say I know it was physically probably tougher to go up the hill or whatever, but like he's totally right. He's got to like this is like a this is a sneaking mission to a certain point.
He's right, but it didn't even work in this situation. So then it's
I
like,
know,
come
but
on.
it's one of
Like
those things where it's like they make a
if I
move and
were
they're
Marshall,
counterplayed.
I would be like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah,
Like this guy knows nothing. So Principal Howell is outside and she sees them pretty quickly and she says, I already have enough to deal with without the fucking vultures circling. But Stan introduces himself with Channel 12 News and he says if he's allowed access, he'll be in and out super quick. And then the other news stations aren't going to be coming around because they don't want their quote unquote sloppy seconds. Bad word choice.
yeah.
Um,
He's such a
and
sleaze.
he
I love him.
he can't help himself. Like he's trying so hard to turn on the charm, and then like immediately says that, and he's like, oh,
But the crazy thing is, he's still like he's good at this anyway. Like he does that,
yeah,
and he's still kind of like. Again, it's like I know he doesn't quite succeed in the moment, but what he's doing isn't bad or whatever. I think he's doing it at a really high level anyway.
Well, okay, but we get through almost the whole chapter, and he's been like approaching all these teenagers and like turning on his charm and stuff, and then turns out he's got a fucking mustache and like blonde hair. Like,
admittedly, I forgot he has blonde hair, and I know I like listened to the chapter like 3 times, but I still missed that somehow.
He's got gold. He to me he looks like Gilderoy Lockhart, but with like a weird mustache.
Okay.
Which it's just quite an image, you know.
Okay, well, I have to recalibrate because I've been imagining him as more of a standard man, where he doesn't
a normie, dude.
Yeah, like I thought he had a really normie look about him, which is like.
I thought, yeah, I did too. I was like, oh, he's like a reporter, like he's a brunette with like a shaved, clean face. Like that's the vibe. But the blonde hair threw me off. The mustache threw me off. We'll get to the description when we get to it, and then we'll make sure.
We've got a new listener who is not necessarily a reader of the text, but is just someone I know who wanted to stop in right in the chat. Sarah Vatesy is, I believe, how you pronounce the username. And then Vale's saying it's pronounced Moostache.
Moostache.
Is he in some way cow related?
Mm-hmm.
It's news to me.
So he's like, oh, we'll be in and out quick. Don't you even worry about it. And he's like, don't like. And on top of that, I'll owe you one. But she says that he knows. He's just trying to get a soundbite from her. So he and his crew
I do think he'd repay the favor in some way. I think he'd keep the axle turning. So I don't think he's lying here.
Yeah, he didn't give it up. Yeah, he's like thinking, he's like, oh, she's got such bad guanxi. This idiot doesn't even know about about this Chinese concept. And he basically like just thinks to himself about this, that it's something that he has like involved in his life and in his business a lot, since he's heard of it. And it's basically just like a specific relationship and dynamic that has to do with like business and politics. Like it's with those kind of relationships.
Sorry, Greg said, kind of guanxi so bad they call it guano instead.
Oh my god.
Anyway.
And I also have this soundbite from him that I'd like you to read.
Oh, Matt, you're trying to make it so I say it. Well,
yeah.
In the words of Stan, cops have better memories than civilians. I don't necessarily agree with this.
Craziest statement of the chapter. I just had to mention it.
Okay, well,
So he approaches. So
he is actually like, this is in line with the way real world journalism like works, because it's basically access journalism. They want to like keep a good relationship with the police so that they can have like continue to get access. So like journalists will just take their word as gospel even if they have a terrible track record. For like standard local news, whatever, usually.
Yeah. It was just very silly. So instead of talking to the cops that are there, which I don't even know.
You know what I thought?
I think there's cops on site, and then there's like volunteer guards kind of thing.
Yeah, but the thing it made me think of actually when he said this was there's this scene in. It's sort of just like the normative view of police at the time. There's this scene in Parks and Rec where like something happens at a bar where like somebody has an
where
altercation.
All the cops are.
Yeah, and they have like a joke where they keep going to like a talking head interview with different cops, and they're all kind of saying the same stuff, describing the scene in the way you would in a police report. And so it's like that's just sort of the normative culture around it. Like I even feel a lot of times when we read this, like that's one of the most outdated things is the way that Wildbow treats the police. Like I think he's critical of them, but like not to the degree that it should be, and also it's because they have a backseat in this story where they usually aren't present.
Yeah, for sure. They've kind of been like knocked down or wrong by the situation, like the fact that like capes and the PRT exist.
Yeah, like the stand-in for the police in a way, like societally, is the PRT level stuff. But I think that it's a much rosier view of how things would be, maybe. Although there is more of a balance of power, because like if they set a precedent too far, like in this setting, then villains would just be like, okay, well, I'm just gonna wipe out the whole station before I start.
Yeah. So Stan goes and approaches a group of students that are hanging outside and initiates gossip with them. And they kind of start arguing in front of him about how the situation went down. Like, was this like a supervillain attack, or was it just an unrightful outing by the heroes? As we remember, this is right after the altercation between civilian Taylor and Dragon and Defiant in the cafeteria. So as he's gathering the info, Marshall approaches with a student who has cell phone video of the situation, and the student like tries to haggle for 100, but pitifully settles for $20. Oh my god.
Yeah, like Stan is a master in this part. He's just like
terrible. He's like, anyone could have this, but it's like totally not true, because in this like universe and timelines, like camera phones still like aren't that popular.
I think
and
there
he
was like
seemingly
10
has
plus
like
people who
the
took
whole
the vid.
thing filmed.
Yeah, that's true. I think that he just like plays her for, $80 in his pocket. But yes. Man, just masterful. Like, I know he's being sleazy and like underpaying someone, but like I just love Stan.
He's underpaying people left and right. It's crazy. I pulled this quote for you.
Yes. This wasn't the first time he'd walked into a situation almost blind. The job was a stressful one, but he thrived on stress, racing against the clock to be the first to the scene, the first to report on the situation. But even reporting was a kind of challenge unto itself. The scene had to be investigated, the story teased out, details verified. To top it off, it had to be presentable.
Yeah. So he realizes the group of students he's talking to hadn't even been in the cafeteria when everything went down. So he starts kind of branching out and talking to others, but he's not having a lot of luck. And he thinks this story about the protectorate basically imploding, like bouncing off of everything that's happened in the. Oh my gosh, what's the timeline? This is like the last week or two.
Okay, so the Echidna event was on June 20th. So that's pretty recent, and this is July 8th.
So it was a few weeks ago. This is a pretty big time jump as far as Orm goes.
yeah, I think it's a 3-week jump between the two, between 19 and 20.
Yeah. So he decides he needs to talk to someone specifically who went to Winslow and knew Skitter as Taylor. So he sends Marshall off.
He's just so
on
quick
this
on
mission.
his feet. He is like so fast at all of this, and
Yeah, like I feel like this whole like scene happens within like probably 20 to 30 minutes, honestly, before like they go live.
Yeah. Oh man. I know he's just some guy who's in like half a chapter, but I love Stan.
Yeah, he doesn't even get the full chapter. I mean, you definitely get his perspective. I don't doubt that what he pitches later isn't his own perspective. Like, I think he's very aligned with his own reporting. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So Stan heads back to his van to review the cell phone footage they'd gotten, and he takes some notes. And I just put the notes here if you want to read them.
Yeah, so these are written notes, and it's D&D picked fight, ? Pushed by authorities, ? Drag past convo with Skitter, when, ? Putting children at risk, violation of truce. What does Skitter know, underlined ? Apparently, in like really broken apparently, important. S9, ? D-check events post-Boston, which is details. D&D negotiating with villains, ? Possible cooperation, ? Corruption, ? I can't believe
Pretty much
Dungeons and Dragons showed up.
I know. Every time he said that, I was like, "What?" D&D. So he smiles when he gets to the clip of the students standing with Skitter and labels it as the heart of the story. And the editors are like remoted into his laptop and just like go ahead and approve this. So Marshall returns with Greg in tow. our favorite. Who allegedly knew the uncostumed Skitter.
I should have pulled up my Greg portrait before I started, but I'm not going to now.
Oh my gosh. So Stan is pretty much ready to pitch his story. And this is when the chapter just goes off the rails. So we see Sophia watching the prison TV as Stan Vickery reveals that Skitter has been outed as Taylor Hebert. As I was rereading this, I was like, man, like I don't know how I forgot that Sophia didn't know this. And then I was like, oh my God, this is like a huge reveal for Sophia.
Yeah, like this, I feel like
this so bad? It's like so bad on so many levels.
It's bad for her, but I mean, like, it's so juicy, and this chapter in particular,
yeah,
it's
I
just
love
like
the drama.
There's so many reveals in a way, like things that we know, but over and over again, characters are learning stuff.
Yeah.
The dramatic
really,
irony is finally hitting.
It kind of like sets everyone to like everybody has like really similar information. Like they don't have the full story, but it's like I don't know. It's like everything just has come tumbling down. So and we get to see it, which is great.
From the outside, like the whole Skitter story, like looks so much weirder and worse than it is. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So Sophia is understandably pretty distressed and she wants answers and she's like got no way to vent her feelings and her anger building up. So she shatters the TV screen with a kick and she gets tackled by the guards. And Danny is...
Yeah, we didn't say it exactly, but she's in the like a mostly standard prison, and she's got like the electro cuffs, so her power would not work, or it would, but it
she's like not only like physically trapped and like socially trapped, but like her power specifically, like she has no way to vent. Like, you know, if Taylor were in prison, she would still have connection to her bugs.
It's like
Sophia has like no connection with her power.
Force themselves to come out, so this has got to be like really like arduous for her in like a way that's not evident outside of that. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. I like don't even blame her because it's like Sophia does a lot of bad stuff, but it's like if I were in her situation, like there was some girl who I had a bad relationship with in high school.
If it turned out that Quinn had defeated you as a hero and villain.
Yeah, and like they had like seen you out of costume and known this whole time, and then had kidnapped you, and then had ruined your life, and like they knew exactly who you were. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
So Danny is watching his own TV, and he sees Taylor sitting on the counter of the school cafeteria as she explains that the heroes can't be that confident she wouldn't hurt somebody. Oof. So his friend Kurt...
It's so bad. We only see like the worst moments for him.
We only see the worst parts for him. Kurt tries to get him to like turn it off, but Danny refuses. And Danny asks if this is all his fault. And Kurt's wife, Lacey's like, no, of course it's not. Of course it's not. And she even goes on to say, like, I feel like there's context that we're missing. And Greg appears on screen and says she is a good person. Thank God, like, Greg pulls through in this, like, one way. Because I got nervous, like, when he showed up, you know?
Yeah, no, I thought this was great. And, like, his weird, ashamed version of this was just peak performance. Like...
Yeah. Yeah, I think definitely like couldn't have picked a better person, honestly, to have done that little snippet. And he's like, no, she really is a good person, and then that's like followed by a clip of Taylor listing all the bad things that she's ever done in her entire life. She just ends it with, and I killed my mom because I was supposed to call her and I didn't. So she really like could have come full circle.
You know, at least she
Um,
didn't. At least she didn't go there.
yeah. Kurt asks Danny if he wants to come, like, stay at their place for a while, or if he's like wanting to stay here at the house in case Taylor stops by. But Danny says she's already said her goodbye. Oh my God.
Well,
Shut
she did
up.
the
That scene is so sad.
she did the butterfly thing.
The fucking butterfly thing is so horrible. She shouldn't have done that.
I didn't want the
So
last thing that my dad saw of me to be ugly. It's just the most like melodramatic Taylor thing, and I think it's good
so
writing.
bad.
It's just her being like,
She should have just like had a spider do the same thing. Like a spider like land on his hand and then like swing away dramatically Spider-Man style.
yeah, bye.
Bye.
Oh
So
man, like other bugs
Pico,
would like hoist thread that's already attached to the spider. Oh man,
oh my
she
God.
could do so much more than like a
She could
regular.
do so much. She could have had them like cook him a meal. Like she
Think
does.
think of the shadow puppetry. Think of the like hand like like a sock puppet skit, but fill him with
Oh
bugs
my
instead.
God. Or she
Think
could have
of
just
the
done
theater
a whole fucking bug clone like she does all the time and
and said,
literally
bzz,
talk
bzz,
to
bzz,
him.
bzz, bzz.
But
Yeah,
she and Danny specifically are the worst communicator. Like they cannot talk to each other.
that's true. That's true.
Um,
They have no skills.
they have no skills. So Pago, she is with an onslaught, a variety of directors, including the new director tag. Dragon and Defiant are there, and they're all watching together as
This
Stan
is
shows the students rising to join Taylor against the heroes.
This
And I
is
have a
like a
quote here.
wrestling promo where we're seeing Tag for the first time. Um,
We're like teased, yeah.
yeah, he's the new heel joining the troupe. But yes, I'll read this quote here. Well, wait, just to make sure. Whose perspective is it that I'm reading from first? Is it that's Tag or is that Pigo?
Um,
Because the voice is going to be slightly
yeah.
different. Just
Let
a
me
second.
look. I think it's.
If
Let me look, actually.
because I don't want
Amend.
to.
You're right. You're right. You're right. We don't want to. I was
The
gonna say I think it's
director
Pago,
said.
but it's not.
I think
I
it's
don't think they actually
Alexandria.
say who says it. They don't say who says it, so it's most likely Defiant replied. He stood at one end of the long table, Dragon beside him. I think this is just the director, so this is Tag.
Well, are you sure? Because I thought the director, like capital D, was director Costa Brown, like Alexandria.
Oh my God, I have no idea.
Successor.
They just call them the director, and then
Oh, actually,
I didn't.
beside her successor, Pigot was watching in silence, elbows on the table. I guess you're right. I guess it.
So this has got to be Tag.
You're right. You're right. Okay, so it's my tag voice is just gonna be identical to the person from the
I was gonna say you
audiobook.
should just do the same voice as Pigo, and then then you're
Exactly.
covered.
If you would have cut off the feed, deleted the footage from the phones, we would have time to do damage control. We won't ignore people's First Amendment rights, Defiant said.
Too true. So Stan follows up that the PRT have refused to comment, of course. And the whole situation points to a fundamental flaw in the system that is like already been collapsing, and it's now collapsing. And the team mutes the TV. Great move. The directors are suspicious of Dragon and Defiant's reaction to all this. They just like don't think they're taking it very seriously.
I pulled out one of the
Seems
quotes for the characters section later. One of the things Defiant says, because like when I reread it earlier, I was just like, "Damn, I love this chapter." Yeah. Anyway, Defiant's great here.
This is why Defiant's just like been so cool lately. Alien Cat Daddy
Now
said
you're
tag
into
is actually
Defiant.
amazing. Phil said, I love this chapter because it is the one time that Taylor ever does something dramatic. Sarcasm. Tag should have the same voice as Danny, just more yelly. Greg said, Director Costa Brown is Alexandria, but they look so different. The director, like, wears glasses or something. And then Vale said, I've never seen Director Costa Brown fight an Endbringer. Obviously, not the same person. Yeah.
Plus, Director Costa Brown has 2 eyeballs.
She's got 2. Alexandra's only got 1. Obviously 2 different people. Yeah, so they remind Defiant that he's on probation, and he's like, "Are you gonna fucking arrest me then?" And they like back down a little bit. And he tells the group that he and Dragon need the directors to admit blame for the situation, and that they need to investigate members of the PRT for Cauldron associations. And the directors are like, "Oh, sorry." Defiant says that it's a waste of resources that they're like controlling and like protecting these people right now. And Pago agrees. And then I have a quote.
Yeah. It's a misuse of resources, she said, and we need to clean house. You don't have a position to lose, Tag replied. I wouldn't lose it anyway, she retorted. I've had no contact with Cauldron. Keen clapped his hands together and smiled. Well said. We have nothing to fear if we aren't connected to them.
Too true, Director Keen.
Oh, I love Keen. He's another like total side character who gets like maybe
that, like,
less screen time than Stan, but like because of a future chapter we like know one thing about him, and it makes this sentence really hilarious.
Yeah. Vale said, this world has difficulty identifying civilian height, weight, and hairstyle when exactly matched by their Cape counterpart. I know, right? Director Tag is like being overly defensive and turns down the request, and Defiant's like, then we'll just have to fucking leave the Protectorate. And the chief director says that Defiant's assumption is that they're reliant on Dragon for her tech, and that they need her to manage the birdcage, but actually we're in contact with Saint, your worst enemy, the leader of the Dragon Slayers. We don't know too much about the Dragon Slayers and Saint right now, but due to their reaction, it's not like a good.
Alexandria is bananas. Like, I know that she's just using this as leverage, but she would turn to them, and they're like, as much as they're afraid of the techno apocalypse where Dragon takes over or whatever, like, the actual person who would lead to that is fucking Saint, because he would be like, oops, I did it wrong. He's such a fucking idiot.
Yeah, he's the worst. Yeah, so if Dragon and Defiant leave, they'll just hire Saint and the Dragon Slayers, and he'll manage the tech. And Defiant is like aghast at this proclamation, and he and the chief director settle on a compromise. They will get through the next Endbringer attack, and then the PRT and Protectorate will clean house. Nice.
Look, we just at once, and after the next fiscal quarter.
This is not really like a Q4 situation,
Yeah.
Alien Cat Daddy said this is an anti-Saint podcast.
Yeah.
Literally, honest, out of all of the characters,
look,
I feel like we're pretty anti-Saint.
Victoria loves a lot of real pieces of shit. Like we'll see next week. I love the real
shit bags.
Like Accord. But yeah, this household is very anti-Saint.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Like, if we get to that chapter, and then I'm like, oh, never mind.
The thing is,
with him,
okay,
but no.
I felt like I didn't know what to think of Saint necessarily, because the story has a way of turning things around on you, but it never turned around. I never started liking Saint.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like you get like a like a tragic backstory. Phil said, I'm a huge fan of Saint. This is so hard to listen to. Saint did nothing wrong, mostly. Alien Cat Daddy said Saint is the least valuable player in any team he's in. Yeah. Even like
that's
his own best friends are like, Saint is kind of crazy and terrible.
I'm only like the third word. Yeah, I'm only the third best mech pilot out of my 3-person team.
Out of my 3-person team. Greg said, honestly, Saint and Teacher deserve each other. Ugh,
Oh,
so bad. See, I'm way more on board for Teacher. At least he's fucking fun.
oh,
um,
no way, no way.
no
Fuck
way, no way,
teacher.
no way, no way. So, anyways, Jack's watching the news too. This is very funny because they're like in some sort of seemingly like pocket reality or some shit, and they like brought a TV to watch the news.
You know what? They'd have to
Um,
pocket
I know
send
they
the
have to like keep
signals.
up to date
Those
on like how they're
bitches.
gonna end the world and stuff.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah. So he's pretty excited to hear from Stan about the Protectorate falling apart. Bonesaw's working on a project with poor Palasto's assistance. We won't talk about that. And it is Hookwolf's turn. And he's like, I'm not too sure about this whole plan, guys. And Bonesaw just ignores him and hooks him up to her latest contraption. She pulls a lever, and Hookwolf's voice cuts out, leaving Jack next. So Jack strips and takes his seat as they hear Stan explain how the repercussions of today are going to change the course of Capes, kind of in the same way that the death of is it
Vicaire.
Vicary
I think
or
Vicaire.
Vicaire?
What I
Vicaire
mean, we're only
uh,
going off of what
had
other
like
people say, I guess. So
yeah.
it may be Vicare
Yeah,
for all I know.
but his death had ended the golden age of Cape, so they're kind of expecting like a similar kind of turn in the course of history. And Jack calls Stan pretentious, and Bonesaw asks, like, fucking coming from you, Jack, like, shut up.
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
and Bonesaw asks if Jack thinks there will be a change for the better or for the worse, and Jack says he almost hopes that things do turn out well, just for a bigger fall. So Bonesaw's contraption starts some lights flickering and reveals their surroundings. And I pulled a quote here.
Yeah, so row upon row of glass case lined the underground chamber, each large enough to house a full-grown man, though there were only fetal shapes within at present. Each was labeled. One row had cases marked crawler, crawler, crawler. 10 iterations in total. The next row had 10 cases labeled with the word Siberian. The one after with 10 repetitions of chuckles. One column of cases dedicated to each member of the 9, past and present, with the exception of Jack and one other. You know what I just thought of that I've never thought of until just this second?
That they should have done 9 of each instead of 10.
Well, I think they end up only using 9 clones of each.
Anyway. I think they do, yeah.
But the ones with cauldron powers, like Siberian and Shadowbird, like, how could they have trigger events? Or is it because the power had already bonded with the DNA sequence of the other version?
I think that the power itself is cloned.
Okay. So the power is still saying I'm seeing the right barcode and I've already been bonded here. All right. I can accept that.
Yeah, because I think, I don't know, like the way that the cauldron, I mean, I'm sure that I'll understand it more, like a little bit more after I finish Ward, but like the way that the cauldron powers work, because the cauldron capes were still able to be reproduced by Noelle as well. So I think that they're like as I know that they're not like alive, like they're not doing quite as well as the natural triggers. But I think that they still have like a lot of like what's it called? Like
they're like
things like built into them.
Like, despite how powerful they are, I think part of it is that, like, if you have one of those powers that's like quotes dead, like barring special circumstances, you can't really, like, you know how Taylor like gets baseline improvements as she does more and more stuff? I don't think
upgrades.
I don't think that you actually like build techniques in the same way. Like, you can get better with your own power, but it's not building up tricks of its own.
Yeah, I feel like they're less, maybe they're like less alive and cognizant, but there's still like a lot of kind of a like built-in usage in them. So like I don't think I don't know if I've said this before, or maybe we can verify this somehow, just thinking about it, but I doubt that Cauldron Capes can have like second trigger events at all, like even if they're like a really good match or whatever.
I'm pretty sure that's correct. I think that they cannot have a second trigger event because they don't have enough energy.
Yeah. Yeah, so Jack says he guesses they'll find out soon enough, and Bonesaw laughs as she pulls the lever. Da da da. It's a very dramatic ending.
Man, what a good fucking chapter.
It is really a chapter. I'm a fan.
Yeah.
I think we can just talk about the chapter overall, but I think that this was an example of a chapter with floating like third person close consciousness that worked.
It works.
And like,
yeah, this is like the first time like it's really, really solid like this, because every other time there's like a good excuse, like we're seeing Yamada's memories or whatever, you know.
Yep. Yeah, like I think that this one pulls it off really well because first of all, like Stan doesn't have a lot more to contribute. Like I do like the Stan part of the chapter, but it's not like I'm like, oh no, like I really wish I was getting this and this and this from him instead of what's actually happening.
Yeah, it's
because
like you have this really strong moment and then he's gone. Flash in the pan.
Yeah, and like I said, I do think that the thing that he's reporting is his opinion. Like that just kind of makes sense from what we learned about him. Or not that it's his opinion, but I don't know. I think it is his opinion. And I think that like ending the chapter with these switches and keeping Stan involved in the situation like really keeps it like tied together. Like all the switches are like cool and dramatic, and like you said, like lots of reveals and stuff. Like everybody's like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
And it's not afraid. Like the chapter, like the chunks are not equivalent sizes by any means. Like some of them are tiny, especially like the Sophia one. But
right,
the Sophia one hits hard.
Didn't have a lot of heft to it, but it was still like, I don't know. It was like, here is a person who.
Like imagine if we just didn't get that.
Who Skitter affected,
you know what I mean?
In her. Go ahead.
I was saying, imagine if we just didn't get that scene at all. Like that would suck. And it's so little.
I agree.
Yeah. Anyway, just getting jazzed up.
I don't know. It
about
just kind of rounds things out, and we like saw Sophia in. I think was it the last interlude that we saw her. Like we've seen her pretty recently. And so, like, we're kind of connected with, like, where she's at, and, like, she's already not doing well. And then you get Danny's perspective, and then you get the Protectorate perspective, and then you get, like, the big reveal at the end with the Jack and Bonesaw, like, oh my god, they're fucking up to something. I mean, they cloned... I forgot that it was this explicit. Like, they just say, yeah, we cloned all of the Slaughterhouse like every iteration of them.
yeah, and she got the DNA from the samples that were sent to
from
Blastow
chapter,
which again, like directly, this is stuff that they bought from the Undersiders. So the fact that they have all of this material to make the clones is a direct result of the actions in Arc 10.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's all connected.
Yeah, like the fact that it's so connected and it does not like highlight it, it doesn't like throw it in your face or whatever, like just the more you think about it, all of the events like lead to each other and everything keeps like helixing in and getting like
oh
faster
my gosh,
and faster.
It's like a web, like a
oh my god
spider web.
I don't remember if we read it, but Vale had said, I despise Teacher, maybe the only character in the book I really completely dislike.
Yeah. That's funny.
I get it, though. Fucking Teacher.
I know I haven't seen all of Teacher, because some stuff's happening in Award that I have not gotten, that I've not quite gotten through. What arc am I in?
You're in Arc 14, I think, at the very start of it.
Yeah. I think we just
didn't you 14, complete 13? Like, you saw the weird perspective? Oh wait, no, are you stuck in
Uh,
the interlude? You always stop at interludes.
I always have an interludes. Okay, it's so funny because like when you pitched this whole I feel like we were talking about this as a whole concept earlier. Like we've been doing this stream for like 1.5 or 2 years or something. And when you pitched it, I was like, yeah, I can do all the interludes. And then I was like, but I have the most trouble with interludes. That doesn't mean that I don't like them though. Like I do really, really like the interludes. It's just like that's the part where I'm like, I think it's just that they're so dense and that you're like receiving so much information and like
Well,
so
because it's
there's like
another
so much
level of
like dramatic
information.
irony happening.
Yeah, yeah. Like there's dramatic irony. You're often re-seeing events. You're like learning a new character. Like
Yeah,
he
meeting new
can teach you.
characters.
It's like how books teach you to read them or games teach you to play them. Like we're learning an entire new character in like paragraphs, and then
Yeah.
we go from that to acting out the scenes, and then you go
Yeah.
from that to
And
like
and
in this
especially
switching
when the
around.
interlude
Hmm.
is like weaving into the plot. Um like those can be, which I feel like as we go on, like that's more and more what the interludes are doing. You know, they're interacting with the plots more
Yeah,
and
some of
more.
the later
I feel
ones
like
like
maybe at the beginning they weren't so much, but like they're definitely
yeah.
like all very important now. So yeah, it's not that I don't like interludes. I swear.
Yeah,
I
no,
do
no.
really like them.
I know that like the reason you were stuck for like I think an entire calendar year on the one like arc 12 interlude in Ward is because like it was I don't know in some way like
It's
hard
a
to
huge
process
one,
or
and it's
whatever.
so there's like so much information being dropped, and in a really like you really have to think about it and pay attention to what you're being told and like what is happening outside of what you're seeing. And yeah, so
And then
I don't
I
know.
was
It
waiting
totally
for
was
so
not a
long
calendar
to
year
warn you
though.
about the you say that.
No, 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 because okay, well, we won't just argue about it, but I got it. I stopped right when we got the dogs because they scream in the
Oh,
car, and that's where
okay.
I do the majority of my listening,
It
and
was the
that was
dogs.
around a
Okay.
year ago.
Okay.
Um, but we've listened a little bit more
I
since
thought
then.
it was before that, to be honest. I thought it was
Yeah,
earlier.
I think I was kind of slowing down and that kind of thing, and
Like
then it was
this
like
chapter had already like stoppered you and you're like cuz I remember you listened to like the first couple minutes of it,
it's
then we
like
talked about
3
it.
hours.
It's not.
It totally is. It's like 3 hours. And anyways, all that is to say, we like interludes, and I think that this one was a really good one. I think that he was able to throw in a character that maybe isn't super important to the plot, but still adds some flavor, and then we were able to go into these other perspectives without it feeling really jilted and kind of uncomfortable. So I appreciated it. I feel like this was like the first time he pulled that off and it came off really well.
Yeah, and like Stan will be I think gets one off-screen mention in like a future chapter, but like because of how powerful his character is, I think in this chapter I feel like just name dropping him a single time is like, they perfectly use the item to enhance the.
It's so funny that you're like his biggest fan. Like
Yeah,
you just
I am the biggest fan of this character probably out of anyone who reads Worm. That would not shock me.
I think so. I think you're Stan's number
I'm
one
Stan.
biggest Stan,
Yeah.
and let's talk about it. Do you want to go over for the character list? I just did Stan and company because they're kind of all
Mm-hmm.
distinct to their own scenes.
Yes. So there's like his two Stan, as Vale says. There's the two lackeys, as you say, Nipper, which I'm guessing is the name you didn't like, and Marshall. Um, uh, I mean, he's just so good at his job, and he's like not even. He's not like I've always been a reporter. He's like I've been a reporter since those guys got murdered like
Yeah, since
three
all the
weeks
other
ago.
reporters got murdered.
And then I know he was a producer before, but he's just like he's so good. He's so quick on
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, and I love how the like station is like just remoted into his computer, like they're fucking ready to go. They're sitting there watching. He pulls up a video. He says, "This is the story." And they're like, "Cool, let's go." And it really feels like this like really fast-paced and like well-oiled situation,
I was just gonna
which
say
is
a well-oiled machine.
refreshing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe it's because they're profit seeking or whatever, but like this group is very, very proficient compared to like most characters we see.
Yeah,
Not
most
necessarily.
people doing jobs.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of red tape compared. We've seen like red tape is like a big theme in this story. And so the fact that like Stan is able to come into this situation, and even though he's a little bit red taped by the principal or whatever, he's like just able to quickly overcome it.
Well, if you think about it, like part of what I think is so impressive about what he's doing is he's like dodging through and sidestepping everything. He knows that he has to have like a certain level of like um I don't I'm sure there's a direct word for this that's obvious, but like a truth to his stuff or verifiability or whatever. There has to be enough there, but like he gets all that done before he's like sending them the footage. He's spending all of his time like doing two things at once. He's getting the story and finding ways to verify it and finding a way to sell it to the station and everything like all at the same time.
Yeah.
So
good job, Stan. And then the only thing to say about Nipper and Marshall are that they're also good at their jobs, and are severely underpaid. And he just kind of thinks about it. He doesn't think about his own pay. So like maybe he's not getting paid a lot, but it comes off like we're abusing these kids, basically.
yeah, I hazard a guess based on this setting that he is also not being paid well.
I'm sure he's not getting paid great, like for the
Yeah.
danger and stuff that he's in, but definitely like significantly more.
Oh, I'm sure he's getting paid
them.
more. And not that the other two aren't in danger, but he did get his position by like way of so many other people getting murdered.
Yeah. It's very unfortunate. He also mentions, I mean, he says he's like, oh, well, all the other people at the station died. And then he's like, but something weird's going on there. Because most of the reporters didn't actually die, right?
It was the Coil
like,
thing, yeah.
It was like all a Coil thing. So like,
but
what do you mean all
like,
the reporters at the station died?
But remember that that's still under wraps. Like, that's part of the, like, I could spill secrets.
Right, but like, did Quail pay off a bunch of the reporters to like flee town?
Well,
or like
that's part of it is when they were like teleport swapped. Remember, like they're the people who were supposed to be the casualties, and he paid them off to go.
So they're his people. Okay.
Yeah, he paid them off to go like not be that person publicly anymore.
Yeah. So. Right. Okay.
So that does jive with what happened, but it's just kind of like it's a weird enough scenario. I see why it'd be a little confusing. But yes, we can move on to the Sophia zone.
Wait. We have to talk. I have to go read his mustache description. Make sure.
Somehow.
How do you spell mustache?
Mustach.
Okay, there we go. A video clip replaced the blonde man. Okay, maybe. Yeah. A video clip replaced the blonde man with the mustache and a face lined by years of stress. So that's him. That's Stan.
Okay.
He's a stressed out looking blonde mustachioed man.
Well, okay. I don't know why, but
Will, you're wrong. He spelled it Must in the. I was looking at moustache the way that you're spelling it.
But you know what?
But then I found it.
I definitely thought mustache was spelled the way that he spells it in the chapter. I don't know why I have
always thought it was moustache, but I wonder if there's like a local.
I bet it's like a gray thing, you know?
Yeah, exactly. How do you spell it? I always spell gray with an E.
I do an E, but that's wrong for America. Yeah. But I find gray with an A to be distasteful.
Yeah, I agree. I think that gray with an E is like so chic.
Mhm.
So like
I have a lot of opinions on
kind of
that stuff. Like I'm totally fine with the way we spell color with no U, but
hmm
you know, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
When I was a cringe high schooler, I would only use British spellings
hell
for
yeah,
all my like
all
papers and
words, and you
homework
would
and
say
stuff. I
aluminium
would
out
do
loud.
I would do favorite, I would do color, mostly those two. Very embarrassing. I regret.
It just makes me think of Paula from Crazy Ex-Girlfriend when she's pretending to be British, and he's like, "Ah, it's so hard to stop once you get started."
Oh my god. Okay, we can talk about Sophia. I don't think there's a lot to say about Sophia. Sophia's angry.
Man, yeah, she, like you said at the time, has like no outlet. She's unable to use her powers. She probably has no social life also still because she's so like she lucked into Emma as much as
Yeah,
anything.
she's just like the worst. And like Emma was like cool with that, which like made everybody else cool with that. But it did not seem like she was that Sophia was popular before Emma happened.
It's like a weird situation where it was like the perfect conflux of these terrible personalities coming together.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
very cringe.
Oh, yeah.
So
Okay. So actually, because we're in the character section and we can kind of divide it, I did want to re-talk about that like the Guanxi thing I was saying. Like Stan
uh,
directly thinks about it.
mhm.
Sophia obviously none of the other characters are going to think about it, but Sophia is in this state like we talked about before the stream because she had no interpersonal relationships. She didn't have that leverage from.
Yeah, she wasn't building anything with because there are plenty of characters of capes specifically who are not good socially and people don't like them, but they are able to build this repertoire with their teammates and they are like considered, they're considered teammates, they're coworkers, and people will trust them and rely on them. Kind of like Defiant, honestly. I feel like
Because the thing is, like, as much as they would say like Arms Master like doesn't get people, like he's so personally strong and so like able to carry everybody on his back, and like in a very like he's always Batman compared because it's like he has no super strength, he has no super anything except his brain, and he is able to like fight to a standstill anybody practically. Um, so like they're so impressed with him on like a professional level, and they trust that he will do exactly like they know exactly what he's gonna do, you know. Um,
Mhm.
but like Sophia doesn't have that. She's a wild card. She's untrustworthy to her teammates. She doesn't
Yeah,
stick her neck out
exactly.
for
They
them.
couldn't even trust her.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So as soon as she's a liability at all, they just like dump her in prison
Mhm.
because she doesn't have that. And moving on to our next set of characters, Danny and his
Yeah.
friends. This is yet another example of like he has not consciously built out this social group, but he has done it through his own actions. And these people are going to take care of him because he's so integral to their community, and he has endeared himself to all the dock workers, like people who, by
Mhm.
Taylor's
He's a
definition, are
union man.
well, yeah, he's not just a hero; he's a union man. Um, uh, but like by the way that she talks about him and his friends, like he doesn't fit with them, but they respect him on like a deep level. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And they're willing to like support him and take care of him in all these ways. And it's not like this is the first time they've had to support and take care of him. Like it seems like they're very much present during like everything he was going through when like his wife died and
Mhm.
everything. When Taylor's mom dies. But yeah, Danny and his friends, very cute, very sad. I don't know if there's anything else to say. Danny's like the fact that Danny's like, is this on me? Very that's notable. Kind of.
Yeah, I know she says
Like as
no,
much
but
as
it's like Yes.
Much as any parent's actions are any children's actions are on the parents. Like the reason that they wouldn't have done this if you had done things differently. You're right. That's the case.
I mean,
But
Taylor's no Cradle. Let's get that out there.
yeah.
But like, I think her actions are much more determined by Danny's neglect than like the actions that happened around him. Because like, Cradle's like parents like tried to manage him, and obviously in like bad, unsuccessful ways. But he was kind of a little demon.
Yeah, he was kind of born like that. I mean, there's like a mix of nurture and nature, but from what we've seen of Taylor, if she had had more, if the nurture had been better, she probably, first of all, she probably wouldn't have gotten powers, but if she did, she probably would have joined the Protectorate and the PRT. But, and not to
also,
say that
like,
that's
the
better,
core aspect of her
but
power is not bugs, it's control. So she might not have controlled bugs. It might have been something else, like,
oh my gosh, like rats.
or like
We got
birds. Something fun like birds, maybe.
something cute and fun like birds, maybe dogs.
Although
Man, wouldn't
it's
that
sadder
have been the
when it's
fucking power duo if she could control dogs and like she was still on the team with Bitch or whatever?
I wonder if Bitch would be mad at that though.
I think she would. She'd be like, "You're taking away their personality and their instinct.
Yeah.
Like you're taking away their authority over themselves." I think it would be a problem.
And the reason the bugs is actually good is because no one cares when a bunch of bugs get torched, but when a bunch of cute birds get torched, they all get sad.
Yeah, it's decidedly more sad. Sometimes the bugs I do feel a little bit bad for. Just depending. Just depending on how cute they are.
If they're
Like, can
cute
you
like a
imagine
bug.
if that butterfly on Danny's finger
Got
like flew
torched?
away and then like immediately got like eaten by a spider? You'd
I
be
needed
like,
to eat it mid-combat to build up more webs. I love when she's insane like that. She's like, well, if the fight
yeah,
goes on
she
long
really
enough...
is. She's like, and then I started feeding the weaker, smaller bugs to the bigger, stronger bugs.
Mid-fight snack.
she, she never like considers that on any more of a level.
Well, yeah, it's
I want to talk about
bananas when she just puts bugs into the mouths of other things. Like, I thought sent a steady stream of bugs into Atlas's mouth. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Oh my god. No. At least with Atlas, like Atlas is a different situation, but when it's just like normal bugs versus normal bugs.
Well, the other thing about
That's
Atlas
amusing.
that makes it almost funnier is because he's like a weird, different situation. It almost feels like I started putting bugs in my own mouth.
Yeah, yeah. Atlas is not really a bug. He's a vehicle. Um,
He's like a Vespa.
he's like a little motorcycle that we or like a scooter that we care a lot about. We're like really invested in.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Pago and Co.
Yes. Pago and Co. Well, okay. I do want to separate out.
Pago is off.
Pago
To
is
be
not
clear, Pago is
Co.
off the Protectorate and PRT.
Yeah, she's still there in the meeting, and like she's putting in input, but everyone else, all the supposed and Co, I would say are their own group. It's like
Right.
Tag, Costa Brown, and a couple others. Actually, do we know is like Armstrong there? I forgot if I
Armstrong?
no.
I don't think he's there, but let me control F.
Strong.
I think it's
Armstrong from Boston.
Armstrong is there. Yep.
And then
Okay, so it's Mr. Tag, the director of Brockton Bay's PRT, Director Armstrong from Boston, and Director Wilkins from New York were all present. Mr. Keene sat opposite to her. A camera mounted on the table gave the chief director of the PRT eyes on the meeting where she watched from Washington.
she's got an owl.
Yeah.
The stupid campus.
So they're all together, and Pago is like thinking to herself the whole time. She's like, "Haha, I told you, fucking idiots." But then she's like not conveying that in real life, which is whatever. Like, I mean, she's out of anybody who loves a little bit of Gonshi or whatever is like she loves I don't know. She's like saying things she doesn't agree with. Like we're from a close third person to Pago. We don't get to see a lot of her thinking, but she'll be like, I was smirking to myself because I told them so, but then she will argue with Defiant like in front of everybody. So there's a
Well,
little bit of
it's
politics going on.
it's kind of like she doesn't want to be right, but if she's gonna be right, she's gonna be smirking.
Yeah,
um,
yeah. Same.
I gotta use the restroom. I need you to talk and so forth for a couple
Oh
minutes. I know
my
that this is a
God.
nightmare, but you gotta do it.
Okay. Well, the real plan will be that I will go right after you come back. Dude. And I don't think I included Dragon Defiant. No, I did. Pago is there like on commission or something, like they're like paying her to be there for her advice. I wonder who in the world is actually paying for her because it doesn't seem like anybody else here is her ally. Um, except for like Dragon and Defiant are kind of her allies, like they kind of get along. But I don't know, it's very strange. Very strange. R.I.P. Pago. I mean, I know that she's like supposed to be like, you know, the pun on her name is that she's a bigot, you know, that she is like discriminatory and has like a lot of bigotry towards capes. But compared to these other fuckers, oh my god, even people like Alexandria, because of her place of privilege and like I think she's just always viewed herself as different than other capes in a way that maybe I feel like Eidolon kind of aligns with, but Legend doesn't. Like Legend, I feel like Legend, even though he is in the Triumvirate and also a Cauldron cape and also like very involved with Cauldron, that he still is kind of aligned with capery as a whole. Um, but I feel like Alexandria is kind of totally separate from that. Like she doesn't really view herself as a cape. She might view herself as somebody who is Phil said it's pronounced big O, not bigot. She's fancy that way. I know. When we were talking about this, I was thinking about like Jimmy Buffett has a
Jimmy
musical, and
Buffet.
like at some point in the musical, they say something like da 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 Buffett, and they're like, I think it's pronounced buffet.
Great. I agree with what I was hearing from you. I don't think that Alexandria sees herself in the same way that that like Legend or that especially people like Taylor and Lisa see themselves, where
Right.
they're fully committed to the game. Like as much as Taylor's like directly verbally pushes back and is like, I don't think the game is like that. Tattletale in her head, she's like,
Right.
yeah,
She
yeah,
totally is.
exactly the
She's totally in the
game.
game. Yeah,
Yeah,
I just think that Alexandria is just a normie, but like not even a normie, like a politician normie.
I don't know if
Which
I
is
agree with
way
that.
worse.
I think Alexandria is the type of person who's like so hardcore committed to like her thing that I don't know.
Yeah.
I just think that the thing that makes her feel like she's outside of it is her implacability. Like she feels like she's above, even though she is hurt, like permanently half destroyed. And you know, like the way that she acts when she gets all like her costumes melted and stuff when she like
Mhm.
comes out of the sun ball thing. She just like is completely unmoving and like it's Eidolon who puts the like robe around her or whatever. She's just
Right.
standing there like doesn't give one
She's like
fuck.
Yeah. Alexandria is the girl boss, honestly.
Yeah, she's actually
We all
top girl boss cape. She's Pigo as a cape.
She's top girl boss. She's top girl boss. And someday I will be you, Alexandria. A top girl boss. That's all I want.
Well,
Well, I have to
you know
pee
my
too, but you
favorite
keep
saying is
talking.
Alexandria did nothing wrong.
Oh my god. Alexandria did nothing wrong. I'll be right back.
Okay, okay. So I pulled this quote about Dragon and Defiant. You know what? I'm gonna wait to say the quote because I want sit in the quote with Vic once she's back. But oh, Vale said no, Skitter. Don't say Alexandria's top girl boss. Won't bode well for her. Well, see, that's the thing is Alexandria. She says she's the top girl boss a couple times, and Skitter gets indignant. Then we all know what happens from there. But I will say about this Pigot and Co. crew, I think it's great that we get this first look at Tag and start to learn about him. Also, I didn't talk about this on the little arc stuff portion because we skipped over this. This is actually like a chapter that is considered a bonus chapter, but the Accord chapter is considered a regular non-bonus interlude. And I'm kind of like thinking to myself, if I had to cut one of these chapters, I would not cut the Stan chapter. And it's not just because like I love Stan. I mean, the information they convey in this, the like incredible capstone after chapter 20.5, like you'd have to be crazy to remove it. You'd have to be bananas. But like the Accord one, it's just kind of, it is future setup. I will admit that. But I don't think it's that important. Yeah. Back. Perfect. I got to rag on how this chapter is the bonus and the Accord one's the real one.
Yeah. Vale said, I honestly think donation just means he writes what he wants from a different point of view. If there was no donation, the chapter would still exist in some form. Yeah, maybe. I really wonder what, because I was imagining it like he could have tied this information into the Accord chapter, but I just don't know how he would have done that.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I was thinking a long time ago when we were on it about, like, the Lisa interlude in Arc 8. That's a bonus interlude, and he put it exactly like he wrote and dumped it in at the point at which he reached the donation thing. He didn't always do that, but he did for several. And so it really like alters the trajectory. I'm pretty sure the Aisha chapter is also one like that where he just wrote it when he hit the goal. And
yeah.
Maybe we wouldn't even notice if the chapters weren't there, but I kind of can't imagine that Aisha chapter not being there and then like us still having the same events.
That's a good chapter too.
Yeah, it's really good, and like she would have just been captured completely off screen. I mean, she still kind of is, but like the lead in of her having to deal with chair, I don't know, all these donation ones, he weaves them in so tight that I can't imagine them coming out.
Yeah.
But
Vale said there's one chapter that exists that isn't there and it's not really noticed. The Lisa interlude after Echidna. Are you kidding me, Vale? Are you joking right now?
No, there is one. This? We didn't read it. I don't know the Vale. If you could link it in the Discord, maybe we'll talk about it.
That would be swell. I would would love another Lisa chapter. He removed it. Oh my god. Well, okay. Let's talk about Dragon and Defiant. Something's wrong with Dragon.
Yeah, she's mute now, as she has been since partway through the
she
fight.
Hasn't talked. Pagot notes that her like physicality is pretty jilted as well. She specifically was like, I want to hear Dragon say some words, and Defiant was like, she's having trouble.
Yeah.
So something happened. He says it happened during I think that it's like fair for
I
us
think the
to
audience
understand
knows
that.
what happened based on
Yeah,
their
the
previous
audience
chapters.
understands that like Dragon did not follow her orders or something properly during the interaction with Taylor, and that kind of fucked her up a little bit. So
Well,
hopefully she'll be better.
it's that Defiant had to rewrite her code on the fly. Like if you remember, Taylor was like, "I tried to use bugs to eat his hand, but it wasn't skin; it was like plastic."
Yeah.
Like that's because he's busting out to use an arm-mounted keyboard to NCIS coding change her code.
So cringe. You also grabbed this quote for Defiant if you wanted to read it.
Yeah, I thought this was great, especially like with the um filter they use in the audiobook. But just imagine I had the filter. If you try to place the blame on us, Defiant replied, I think you'll be unpleasantly surprised.
Yeah. I really like this scene from like Dragon and Defiant are just standing there and they're like, yeah, we did the thing that you said and it went fucking badly, just like we said. Fuck you guys.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's weird because like I don't have that much to say about them, but I want to have more to say about them because
I
like
know.
this is one of those like, hey,
This
all
doesn't
you
really
people who hated
change.
Armsmaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like a really big change in the way that they are interacting with the Protectorate, I feel. And it's like, it's not even different than how either of them feel, but I think when they're together, they're just like a lot more empowered to, like, they're
Well,
just more empowered. They're able to actually like stand up for themselves
this is
and
also the very
feel
first time
secure.
Dragon is interacting with the PRT after changing her program so that she can break the law. So,
Yeah, so, Vale says that he sent out the links in the Discord. If anyone wants to check it out, I'll probably check it out later.
yeah.
Um,
I might read it before we do our next stream for the Accord chapter. Maybe touch
cool,
on it.
cool. You want to talk about Jack and Company?
Jack and Co.
Jack and Co.
So, it's pretty short. The only people who actually talk are Jack, Bonesaw, and Hookwolf. And Hookwolf is
Mhm.
still clearly like they just didn't fix his brain after Brockton Bay, so he's just been on that red mist the whole
Yeah,
time.
he's like, I don't really understand what's going on, guys. And they're
I
like,
can't
shut the
tell
fuck
what's
up,
happening in
Hookwolf.
this scene, and yeah, they do that. They're like, shut the fuck up.
They're like, get into the fucking machine. Stop talking.
Stop talking. Get in the
Yeah.
pod.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't deserve any better, but it is funny to see him brought so low. Sometimes,
It's
when
really
these like
depressing.
real assholes do like terrible stuff to each other, I'm kind of like, yeah, do it.
Yeah. Bonesaw's there. She's loading everybody up into their pods. This is some strange plan that fucking Jack came up with to end the like to cause more havoc and like to fulfill his prophecy of ending the world. There's 10 of each of the previous Slaughterhouse Nines, including Gray Boy. Actually, there's only one Gray Boy. I think there's only one Jack and there's only one Bonesaw and there's only one Gray Boy. So that's notable. They kind of feel like Gray Boy is on par with them. I think that Jack just like doesn't want to challenge himself. Like he doesn't want to have to deal with other Jacks, which
I
yeah,
don't
I
think
wouldn't
so.
want to
Like
deal with
that's
other Jacks.
honestly that
Can
is
you
smart.
imagine?
I think one of the only people who could beat Jack is a different Jack.
Is
Like
another Jack and and they totally would like they would totally be conniving against each other. It's like that Steven Universe episode where there's a bunch of Stevens and they all just start literally murdering each other.
yeah, yeah.
Vale said, by the way, I am so incredibly observant that I didn't know Vic only co-hosted interludes. I always wondered why she was on some and not others, and thought it was just Has time. Yeah, I've been on all the interludes.
Yeah. Well, okay. There are.
I appreciate it, Vale.
One of my bottom tier episodes, like possibly the one I was most disappointed with, was the Kid Win and Clock Blocker chapters, which I had expected Quinn to be co-hosting on, but then at the last minute it was no one was co-hosting, and then I just like was kind of like I was just like, I guess I'm doing these interludes alone. So there have been like a couple that I did alone.
But. Yeah, I think there was one or two you've done alone, and then there's like if it just lines up where there's like kind of a short end chapter and then an interlude or whatever, then we'll just do both in the same chapter.
You've done some Taylor chapters,
but I am specifically here during interludes. Greg also said they'd compete. It would be a jack off. Okay, good one. Haha, so funny.
I think that's a good one.
It is a good one. I just hate it.
You know what? I would imagine that Bonesaw wouldn't want more Bonesaws, but that Jack might be like, why aren't you making more Bonesaws? You know, because he's
like she probably just was like, oh, we're not gonna do more Bonesaws and more Jacks, because like. I mean, I think Jack would be into having like a little crew of Bonesaws. Like, imagine how much fucking havoc they would wreak, and I feel like they could bounce off each other in a really good way. You know, like.
Yeah, a lot of these ones, like having more of them is kind of like, well, you could put them in different locations, but they don't actually synergize well with themselves. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I guess some of them do. Like, having a bunch of burn scars in one fight is okay, because it's like they can all teleport through all of each other's fire.
They all trigger each other with the fire.
Okay, that's actually a pretty good setup. I don't know. Maybe I was wrong. But, like, extra winters, having more than one winter does nothing.
Yeah. Except that there's more of them that you have to kill.
Technically correct. The best kind of correct.
More of them.
Yeah.
This wasn't like the most thought out plan. This is more like, let's just be the worst. And the fact that they only make one gray boy, it's like, I think they can, like, if there were more of them, they wouldn't be able to like control the damage in any way, and it would just be horrendous.
Well, I feel like they almost made 0 gray boys. Like Jack felt. Yeah. Okay, here's my interpretation. Jack sees the thing and he's like, oh, what fun. And part of his brain is like, no, don't make Gray Boy. And another part of his brain is like, I can't back down. I can't show weakness. So he's
just
like,
one as a treat.
Maybe just make one as a treat. And then maybe he should have made 0 as a treat to himself. Anyway.
Oh my god. Vale said, if you got enough clones, one would finally be Shyberian. Jack and co. I think that is all as far as characters go.
Shyberian would wear clothes all the time, be like, wow, I kind of can't believe I was naked for so long.
Yeah, like that's real embarrassing, dude.
Yeah.
For Powers, Knowledge, and World Building, I just wanted to note $11 an hour in 2011 is $15.36 an hour in 2024, which is how much Marshall is working, which, as we remember, a couple months ago, actually a couple weeks ago, many reporters got obliviated. Like they got super mega murdered.
Yeah.
And then like several weeks before that, many more got murdered. And he's doing it for $15.36. And Stan is fully aware that they are underpaying him and they are making him like be a jack of all trades.
Like, that's McDonald's wages.
Yeah. I compare all wages to McDonald's. So he is making McDonald's wages, which, you know, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess.
Although, if you think about it, in a southern state, you can still make like $2, and then the rest of it is supposed to be tipping if you're in a tipped job.
Yeah, and you might get killed.
Yeah, exactly. So he's making a huge multiplier above their things, and he doesn't even have to fight Waffle House customers.
Yeah. It's really not that bad when you think about it. I just think it's really it's like really interesting when we do like the wage. Like I like to see what money looks like in today's terms because it is quite different than 2011. In fact, it's about 50% different. But
I also
in
will
my
say,
opinion, it's like even more different because like specifically the housing and the food is like more expensive than like what average inflation is right now.
yeah, like the
In
supposed
my opinion, I don't have
inflation.
any data on that, but I do know that it's true.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. The supposed inflation and like what the money is worth is like one thing, and then you have to factor in that I think the
Cost of
actual
living.
literal cost of living has inflated faster than inflation. That's
I think that's right. Yeah.
yeah. Um Also, like, I know that it always does it in subtle ways, but like sometimes it's hard to bring to the forefront how much Worm brings class into things. Like I think
Mhm.
Worm is constantly thinking of like people standing in society and how much that people will
Yeah.
believe them based on who they are and how much money and how much sway and how much political power and all these different things. Like that's why I thought Guanxi is so like powerful as a concept cuz it covers like so much of that. Like it is an abstraction of a lot of those things put together, and like the Guanxi that we see displayed by Dragon and Defiant is so like huge, and they're, you know, they're going up against a Titan, like not a in story Titan, but like they're going up against Alexandria, someone who is like this incredibly powerful figure in their world, and they're still able to like stand up to her threats. Yeah.
Yeah. Vale says, my favorite thing in dissecting Worm podcast was when they read it in a Lenin political philosophy lens. I forget the correct term. Yeah, I think that I agree, and I wonder if it's just there's lots of things that I do think I want to read like some other works by Wildbow because I'm not sure if they're themes that like are just so innate to him versus if they're themes that he just felt were really important to include in parahumans specifically.
Yeah.
um so I am really interested in that, but I agree. I think that it's like it's always considered like, and I appreciate that because when I am reading a story and class isn't like in consideration at all, I'm
Yeah,
like,
people just
shut
like
up. You don't know
treat everyone the
anything about
same
the
and stuff.
world.
Like I hate that in basic stories how it's like everyone acts how people like scare quotes should act and is like everyone's equals. But it's like, have you lived in real life? I don't just mean like on a
Right.
racial level. Like you are treated differently based on how you look in every aspect. If you look
On so
poor,
many things.
you're treated so differently. If you're like a woman, if you have like a different like skin color than whoever you're talking to. Like everything is all so encompassing. Like
Hmm.
I don't know. It's just like foolishness when they're all like, well, like everyone went in and they were all good faith actors and they were all perfectly rational.
Hmm.
That's another
Yeah.
thing. The characters
Feels.
in this story don't just act scare quotes again rational. But
Hmm.
mm,
Vale said, I also have lived in real life. Yeah.
bam, Vale's nailing it.
Speaking of, do we want to talk about the audience participation? I feel like this, for me at least, like ties in with all of this stuff. The
We can in
Guanchi.
a second. I had wanted to briefly go back and say about Vale's last comment. I think you should listen to Dissecting Worm because I don't think you have.
Yes, I do need
Yes,
to listen to it.
it's a more in-depth uh, look into Worm by the it's two people who joined Doof Media, so it's
Uh-huh.
not any overlap, but they are in conversation with We've Got Worm because they are under the same umbrella. Um,
Hmm.
and as Vale says, it is quite good. I agree.
It is quite good. Okay.
Yeah,
I will someday.
someday. it goes down easy. They also take
Yeah,
like
yeah.
they do like the movements of the story, and they do 6 different
Right.
things, and I don't exactly agree on the dividing lines, but like I have no qualms with where they divided it. Really, it's just like I do it differently, kind of thing. Um, but yeah, their
Right.
story analysis rules.
Nice.
They do have a okay. They have one thing that stuck out to me because so many people have misinterpreted the same thing that I think maybe it
Uh-huh.
needs to be changed. In Purity's chapter, like 90% of the people I've heard react to it think that Purity needs to have like an emotional thing to kick on her powers. And I'm pretty sure Wildbow is just trying to say like that was her mental beacon. Like Aster is what keeps her motivated. Not that she
Yeah, I
needs to
think
think of
it's more
Aster
like
to
that.
yeah.
Like it's not like a literal thing. It's more like when I like if somebody were like going to work every day and they're like thinking of their daughter and like I do this for my daughter or whatever. And that like helps them to like kind of align themselves with whatever they're gonna do.
Yeah, but it's been like so frequent like so many people think it's like, "Oh, I need to do this emotional thing to kick on my powers." And it's like,
Uh-huh.
"Not really, cuz her powers are tied to like starvation, not to
Yeah, she's got one of the few like almost
physical powers."
purely physical powers
Yeah.
where it was in not that other people's powers aren't physical, but that her power was was sprung in a situation where she physically needed it.
Yeah, and I know that there's mental components to it. There's like the isolation, the fear
Yeah.
of death, but like her power gave her a way to directly live. Like she could eat and survive with the
Hmm.
yeah. Anyway, and I'm pretty sure that there's like minor healing aspects to her power as well when she's drawing in energy. Like I've always gotten the impression that she kind of healed herself from the crash and was able to escape.
Hmm.
Vale has apologized for not having a good answer to the participation question and said, I have the social skills of a non social person.
So the
Well,
answer is no, which is fine. That you don't use Guanchi.
well, you clearly have some social skills, Vale. So, I think you're gonna be okay. Um, but do we want to skip down to that? I thought you had sort of pulled these other. Um,
No, they were basically the same thing. They were like
mm,
about all the people that died, but then it was actually all fake, and that's weird. And then
it's pretty weird.
yeah, that's basically all that it was.
Okay, so to read the answers, Vale first says, the question is, do you think you apply Guanxi in your life? And it's, I don't. I sleep, eat, play games, work, read, repeat. Um, all right. I do all the things you listed, but
But then also a little bit of Guanchi.
Greg says a bit in the context of work. Being willing to take a bit of time to help people and maintaining good relationships builds up personal and institutional goodwill. 90% is on company time anyhow. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely like 100% yes for me. Like when I was reading about this, I was like, it's just like describing a thing that's already in my life.
Yeah.
Because like I definitely have like done this, and when I lived in like Washington, like the music scene, it was so important there to like be able to uh negotiate with people and get things done and have them know that you're gonna like do whatever, like have
Right.
them on like a good show as like an opener or stuff, like negotiating with other bands is like a big thing. um
Hmm.
and I was never like playing the music myself, but I was facilitating a lot of stuff for my roommates who were in a band together and helping them like be able to play at bars and stuff. And we were kind of just like wheeling and dealing with bartenders. And
Right.
yeah, um, because we
Yeah.
had to set the terms of like how much they were going to get paid. Like is there a door fee? Like, do they get a skim from that? Like, all this different stuff. Like, and to be able to use your reputation that you've built up and stuff and actually turn that around. It was like so important.
Yeah. For me, I'm a hashtag girl boss.
You are.
But
You're
I
hashtag
don't
my
feel
girl
like
boss.
I don't feel like I do it on a personal level, in the sense, not that I like don't give and then like expect like some sort of how do I even say I can't ever say that word. Reciprocated, you know what I mean? Reciprocity.
Reciprocity.
Reciprocity in those situations.
Sorry.
But I do think about it on like a large level. I think a lot about the like overall relations between departments and between business and the customer, and I specifically try to smooth those things out and like improve those kinds of things. I think I just am really like, I don't know, like I don't want to sell myself on a personal level. I'm not looking for favors on a personal level. I'm too shy for all of that. I'm like Vale. I am not social enough for any of that nonsense. I do think it's probably happening, but not in a way I'm cognizant of, not in a way that I have like intention behind.
I feel like especially in our job, like I view it so differently from most of the people in our department. Like everybody sees it as like an IT job, and I'm like, this isn't that much of an IT job. I
It's
know
a
that we're
relations
literally fixing
job.
things, but the biggest part of our job and the most important and most neglected part of our job is PR. It's all about
Yeah.
PR. It's making them like us. If they like us, we can fulfill our job. If they don't like us, we can't even
We
do it.
can't do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So like I spend a huge portion of my day like kind of just making people like me and us, and it works. It works really well.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I guess I do a lot of that as well. I think that for like whatever reason, like when you describe it or Stan describes it, I'm like, I could never, like I could
And
never,
yet you do it all day.
but I do. I know that I do it all day, but for me, I don't know why. It just feels different
It feels
because
gross
I
when you
think
name it.
that I think that I just like doing a good job, and then everybody's like, wow, Victoria's amazing, and I'm like, yeah, I know, like that's what I'm getting out of it, is that Victoria's amazing, not that I'm getting like this relationship built.
Yeah. But I mean, honestly, like some of the stores and like some of the managers like I really like Ike and Isaac and maybe Robbie.
Yeah.
She's crazy. But like, I a lot of what I'm doing is putting up with people who I actually don't like and making them like me.
Yeah. Yeah, for real. Me too.
So, yeah.
Cool.
I think that thoroughly answers that question. I'm happy that we got to talk about it because that's
Yeah.
part of what makes me like this chapter so much.
Mhm.
And the question that you had come up with, which I think is pretty good. It's not in a question mark format, but it's posting. Solve one of your pet peeves with an Accord solution. And so I've just posted that in the audience participation chat.
Yeah.
I try not to date these episodes too much, but we'll be recording again I think tomorrow. So
Yeah.
it kind of fits
So
the
be
timeline.
ready. Come on, guys. I want to see an Accord solution. Listen.
Yeah.
I love Accord. William hates Accord. It's
perfect. We're like
it's
magnets.
perfect.
But
Perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
exactly. I just thought it was funny that the the events of the story are on like July 8th, like the things we just saw. And, we're just doing both of the wrap-up chapters in the days leading up to Real World July 8th. So that's a little fun.
Yeah, exactly. Vil said, Accord does not like having sudden deadlines. I think Accord likes it. I think it makes his power work better. Just saying.
That might be true, because normally his power is like, do this thing that'll take 10 hours and requires them to stand perfectly still and not fight you.
Yeah.
His power is so dumb. He's such a fucking idiot.
So we'll talk about this tomorrow.
Yeah. Anyway, should I... Okay, I'm on... Oh, Vale says, I wonder what Accord's solution to a sudden deadline like this would be. There could be guillotines. Yeah. Oh my gourd, we're already getting a...
Yeah, Halloween. It's like, I can't get over how funny Accord is. Okay, that's the thing. I think Accord is funny in a good way.
Oh my god, getting a near instant heart from Vale.
Yeah.
Well, yes. Well, we'll talk about those answers again when we do the next audience participation.
Yeah.
We will include Halloween's talk. Vale says Accord is a superpowered project manager. I'll tell you what.
My god!
Our boss, who's a project manager, could put Accord to shame. Kevin could kick Accord's ass in project management.
Oh my god. Yeah, I think that probably
Accord's
like 3 out of 5 of our project managers could kick their ass.
3 out of 5.
Kevin, Angie, Tanya.
Okay. I'll take it.
Yeah. They could all kick ass.
Okay. If you could remind me, there's the other... Who are the other two? Because everybody's roles get so, like, hazy.
Nate and Sean. Beta bitches, I'm just saying. They would do nothing against Accord, are you kidding?
Dude, I wish
Accord
Kevin would read...
Accord would be like, stand here for 20 hours while I guillotine you, and they'd say, yes, sir.
Yeah. Oh, man. Kevin's so crazy. He would definitely be a parahuman.
Oh my god. Vale said Kevin needs to read Worms so you can tell him that joke. We can talk more about work tomorrow if you guys want to hear about it. Oh my god.
Dude, I tell people about Kevin all the time. I love Kevin. He's crazy.
All you need to know about Kevin is Kevin has a PhD and is our manager and also really, really, really believes in Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Like a lot.
There's like a big dichotomy to his personality. He's like very, very well educated, but he sounds like that guy from Lower Decks who keeps yelling, "It's the aliens, man! A Q came out of nowhere!"
Yeah. Oh, dear God.
Oh, I love Kevin. Anyway.
He would love Worm.
He would. But he hates reading because it hurts his brain because of his concussions.
Kevin watched Severance, and then when me and my coworkers were talking about Severance, Kevin said, "Oh my god, that's so crazy you guys got all that. I thought Severance was just about hating your job."
Yeah.
That's what he said.
Yeah. He's very smart and he's very dumb.
Very smart, very dumb. Love it.
I'm gonna start up the outro music. Okay. They changed the interface look between last time I streamed and now, so like I keep freaking out when I look at YouTube. So this music is Queen Scourge, played by our good friend Scarlett, ScarlettXOX as a musician title. And then you can find her at twitch.tv/Scarlett_Rogue. I don't know if she's going to continue streaming Gas Station Blues or not. It's unclear to me at this point. But that might still be going on. And then the Discord server link can be found in the stream description as well as the channel description. Along with all our other links here, the author of the work being discussed can be supported on Patreon at patreon.com/Wildbow. The full text of the work is available for free online at parahumans.wordpress.com. And there's also a fan-made audiobook of the entire work at audioworm.rain-online.org. It's easier to just search Worm audiobook, frankly. But we got a final take care. Thanks as always from Vale. Thank you, Vale, for being here and interacting. It's always helpful to have people in the chat making jokes and things. We've got like 10 seconds to vamp. Say one last thing, Vic.
Oh my god, I don't have anything. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm a failure.